Hello and a very warm welcome to you. It's now time for Africa News. Here are our headlines. Bloodshed in Benghazi. At least 20 people are killed in clashes in Libya's second largest city after Islamist militants attack an army base, leading to the worst fighting there in many months. Aid agencies call for help. Thousands of refugees fleeing violence in Central African Republic pour over the border into Cameroon. Arriving exhausted and famished, NGOs say the emergency needs the world to react. And ministers from Democratic Republic of Congo and Congo Brazzaville meet to try and ease tensions after an estimated 150,000 nationals of DRC are expelled and sent home back across the border. At least 20 people have been killed and scores more wounded in eastern Libya this Monday. The National Army and soldiers loyal to rogue General Khalifa Haftar fought together against radical Islamists in Benghazi. The militant group Ansar al-Sharia attacked an army camp near the city, a strike that comes just a day after Haftar and his supporters took aim at an Islamist camp in the area.
Helicopters in Benghazi looking for Ansar al-Sharia fighters. Since daybreak, this militant Islamist group has been in violent clashes with the Libyan army and forces of renegade General Khalifa Haftar. He started a campaign to battle Islamists 2 weeks ago in Libya's second largest city. Haftar lived in exile in the US before returning home to command ground forces in the uprising. He says the government in Tripoli is not doing enough against jihadists. Some members of the regular army have decided to join the 71-year-old general. The authorities say he just wants to seize power. Libya has been unstable ever since the revolt against Muammar Gaddafi 3 years ago, but the latest fighting in Benghazi has been particularly violent.
A hand grenade has been thrown among commuters in Benghazi in Central African Republic. The explosive caused panic, but there are no reports of any casualties. Calls for weapons to be removed from the city's streets, however, continue to grow. On Sunday, the country's Prime Minister set July 8th as a day for all citizens to hand in their weapons, calling for a voluntary national disarmament. An idea echoed by the mayor of Benghazi as she met with her counterparts in Paris to discuss her city's needs.
The religious aspect is the one that is getting talked about, but it's really a conflict that comes from poverty. It's important to disarm, but the whole city, not just some neighborhoods. It needs to involve the entire city, all areas of Bangui, and even neighboring suburbs of Bimbo and Bigwa.
Un désarmement, déposer les armes, mais également dans les esprits. C'est surtout ça qui est important.
Getting people to put down their weapons and also change their mentalities. That is the most important. So that violence and revenge is removed from mentalities and there is an end to this vicious circle of tit for tat.
Well, the violence in Central African Republic has forced thousands to flee, many just making it across the border of neighbouring Cameroon. Arriving famished and in critically poor health, aid agencies are sounding the alarm bells and calling for international help.
Gunshots sound throughout the night, proof that the anti-Balaka are close by. But these 24,000 Central African Republic refugees didn't have the strength to go any further. Right after crossing Cameroon's border, they stopped, exhausted. Adama walked with her 4 children from Yaloke, 300 kilometres from here. Her youngest daughter, Habiba, barely made it.
It was a very long journey. We walked for 4 months. I had nothing to feed my child, only my milk. But since I had almost nothing to eat myself, I didn't have much milk. When we arrived here, she was very ill.
42% of the children under 5 who make it here arrive in a state of acute malnutrition, a figure far higher than the 15% mark, at which point the World Health Organization declares it an emergency.
These kids need support to treat acute malnutrition, both severe and moderate, especially the severe cases, because those are at very high risk of dying. And a lot of them are also sick with malaria and diarrhea, so the treatment activities need to take priority.
The World Food Programme distributes food and nutritious supplements to mothers and children. But the humanitarian organisation is worried about the extent of the needs. And since the end of April, has been ringing the alarm bells.
We must understand that it's not a crisis that is going to stop in a few months. As long as the situation does not improve in the Central African Republic, those people will stay here and will need help. This means that the state of emergency must be dealt with first. It includes bringing nutritious supplements in order to refill our empty stocks. Then we'll need financial means in order to continue helping these populations in great distress.
Every week, 2,000 more refugees cross the border. Within the space of 1 month, some 30 children died as a result of the hazardous journey to the camp, according to the UN.
Trying to become friendlier neighbours, ministers from Democratic Republic of Congo and Congo Brazzaville are holding talks to ease tensions after tens of thousands of nationals from DRC were forced out, often violently, from Congo Brazzaville in the last 2 months. Kinshasa says human rights have been violated. Brazzaville denies this, saying they were expelling illegal workers and nothing more. Well, our reporter in Kinshasa, Leah Lester-Westerhoff, has been following Monday's meeting for us and joins us now. Leah, this is the first time both sides have come together since the start of the crisis. How has it been going so far?
Well, actually, the idea really is to try to normalize the relations between the two countries. Kinshasa and Brazzaville are the two closest capitals in the world, just separated by the River Congo. The two countries have also been linked since 1999 with an agreement that allows people from both sides to cross the border without a visa or a passport. But despite that, despite this agreement, the relations have clearly deteriorated over the past 2 months. 140,000 Congolese from Kinshasa have returned back home. Brazzaville is saying that these people, that only 2,000 people have been expelled, only criminals have been expelled, and that the 120,000 other people have actually decided to return back home on their own initiative. Kinshasa, of course, is denying that and has clearly criticized tonight the whole operation, accusing Brazzaville of not having informed Kinshasa of this massive operation that would expel so many people, accusing Brazzaville also of violations of human rights, massive violations of human rights, and of violating these agreements that are linking the two countries. So clearly quite opposite, very different positions tonight.
Okay, Lisa, it sounds like there's a lot of finger-pointing, emotions running very high there. Is there hope that they will find a common ground anytime soon?
Well, this is actually the big challenge that the experts will be facing, to try to find an acceptable solution until tomorrow lunchtime. On the side of Kinshasa, the aim, of course, will be to try to prove that there has been human rights violations. Film documents could be screened to try to prove that. And Brazzaville, on its side, will try to prove that it has respected the procedures and that, again, they have expelled only suspected criminals. So I guess it's difficult to say what will come out of the meeting, but the experts definitely will have to show quite an amount of diplomacy and of imagination to try to find an acceptable solution and to engage Brazzaville in stop to expel more Congolese from Kinshasa.
Okay, Leah Lester-Westerhoff there in Kinshasa. Thank you indeed for joining us. Africa's Bill Gates, he was once described as, and he's seen as Algeria's golden boy. Rafik Khalifa is on trial here in France, accused of money laundering and of having questionable sources behind the rapid rise of his empire. The 47-year-old founded the Khalifa group, making billions before he was arrested. Nicolas Germain brings us a look at the good man gone bad.
Rafik Khalifa did not show up at his trial near Paris this Monday. That's because Algeria refused to let him out of prison. The former businessman is charged with corruption. Khalifa started his career working in his father's pharmacy. Then he developed generic medicine. Within a few years, he'd built an empire with his own banks and airline.
You must never start too big. Khalifa Airways started with 1 plane 2 years ago, and now we have 30.
French judges said his rapid rise was probably helped by the generals in power in Algeria in the 1990s. Between 1995 and 2002, he built an empire worth several $billion. Khalifa became the sponsor of Marseille Football Club. He organized lavish parties where he invited stars like Gérard Depardieu and Catherine Deneuve. But in 2002, the Algerian government accused him of embezzlement. His businesses were closed down. Khalifa fled to London, where he was finally arrested in 2007. Last year, he was extradited to Algeria. His friends say his downfall came after he supported Ali Ben Fliss, the rival of Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who's been in power since 1999. His trial in France is expected to end on June the 20th.
Okay, that's it for Africa News, but Mark Owen will be here after break with all the international headlines, so don't go anywhere.